Dancing the dance. We're really going to talk about weave tonight, which is the greatest dance of our spirit, our soul, and our personality or our ego self. You'll hear me use those terms interchangeably. The self that believes it is a person going to work, having a relationship, doing the life thing, a person who is in a linear reality, when in fact we are a multidimensional being who is experiencing the nuances of life and the input, the stimuli of it at all levels. But most often we are just distracted, and there's so much stimuli in life to distract us that we kind of miss some of these subtle cues, which spirit is calling weave. And so tonight, as we dance this dance of weave, we're going to talk about some of the supporting energies that help and allow us to embrace weave. And the first of that is to honor our soul's purpose and to really delve into what does that look like and feel like. And spirit says the weave is ramping up. And so people are going to begin to experience their external reality seemingly activated in ways that they have never noticed before. Things that may have been right in front of our faces that we have never seen are going to light up and have new meaning. And often it comes from mundane, or what we might even think are ordinary objects or phrases, or even billboards or shampoo bottles, TV or social media commercials. All of these things are part of the weave and will light up in the sense that the Holy Spirit will activate them. And when we have eyes to see and a spirit that has that discernment, which we can pray and ask for each and every day, each and every moment, then we will be able to not only see and feel the weave, but then begin to live as it. And so we're encouraged that the very first thing to do is to honor our soul's purpose, to stop fooling ourselves, and to get moving on with our soul's path. So, what does that mean? Well, it means paying close attention to the subtleties of our experience and listening very, very carefully to the urgings that are begging us to honor the deepest truth of who we really are, not what we think everyone will approve of. And that's really important from Spirit's perspective, is that many people are really seeking the reflection and the recognition of others. And so they are editing themselves, or we are editing ourselves or censoring ourselves to kind of bring forth what we think everyone will approve of. And we are now being literally begged from Spirit to honor the deepest truth of who we are. And that means no longer editing or censoring. Now, of course, that doesn't mean being harmful or being rude. It means being compassionate with our wisdom, but it also means having the bold courage to speak the deepest truth and to know it. First we must know it before we can even speak it. And often that means carving out the space or the time of reflection in our lives to allow that deepest truth of who we are to really emerge. And so we're encouraged to remember that every experience up to this point in our lives has shaped us, and even the lives that we've lived before, that our soul has experienced, are now exerting their karmic influence. And particularly, Spirit has always referred to this soul timeline that we are all in right now as the greatest hits timeline. It's not only a dual timeline for those of us who were alive pre 2012, but it's also a timeline where our soul is experiencing kind of the best and the worst of our karma, so to speak, the writing of the balance within our weaves. And so our lives can no longer really just be driven solely by the personality self or our ego, our linear selves. We have to now consciously and consistently attune to our most profound sense of self, this I am presence, this greater aspect of God's spark, which lives within each and every one of us, and which makes the human species completely unique, because it is the only species on this planet and interdimensionally, multidimensionally, that can actually allow the God spark to live and move through it, rather than just be obedient and devoted to it. So, not that we are God also in the sense that we, have all the powers of God, but in a sense, in a moment we do. It's not that we can command it or demand it or summon it, because that is the mocking of God. It's simply when we are present and open to receive it that God will allow that divinity, that conduit, to move through us, to bring peace, to bring healing, to bring joy, to bring charisma, humor, magnetism, whatever. Sometimes righteous compassion, where we're slicing through the BS. Whatever the moment needs, we will be asked to fluidly step to the plate. And that's why that blueprint, that Christ blueprint that Yeshua, carried so beautifully, and so have many others in the footsteps before and after. It's the ability to pay close attention to those subtleties and to know that every experience is shaping us, and that all of it is influencing us, all of it, including our times, parallel before and past, even though that's very hard for the mind to wrap itself around. But they are all happening in this exact now moment. And so we are reminded we can no longer live our lives driven solely by what we believe to be our personality self or that ego self, that we must consciously, consistently tune to this more profound sense of self and align with Spirit's intent. It may take courage and faith to dive into these depths. In fact, another alternate title tonight was Dancing in the Deep, because Spirit was saying this is not superficial or shallow waters. This is not the kiddie pool, folks. But we have indeed funded, Spirit says, the strength and the power within Spirit now to do so, to claim the destiny that we know is ours and to act on it now. This is the following the path of the voice of our own soul, which has been calling to us since before we were born, a moment in time where fate meets destiny.